Hi, this is Stories About Speaking, and I have the lovely Helena Pickin, and she's my cousin. So if some of my questions seem a little personal or seem like I know her quite well, I've known her all of my life.
I
So hi,
know.
H. Does anybody call
Hello.
you H anymore, or is it just
Um,
Helena?
as few people do, not many, not many. It's mainly you and your
Um,
mum. I get oi, hell, babe,
yeah,
mum.
yeah. Yeah, so it's Helena. Anyway,
Yeah.
hi, thank you for coming on
Oh, it's
and
exciting.
tell everybody about yourself.
Okay, so my name's Helen. I'm going into my 60-second pitch mode now because I've been at so
Okay,
many network meetings. I've got to stop doing it.
that's very good.
Um, So I am an award-winning wellbeing coach, Reiki healer, and meditation instructor. And I have my own business called Wellbeing at the Old Farmhouse, which is literally where I live. This is part of where I live. And I work with women of all ages, from tween all the way up to adult, to support them to become phenomenal. That is my thing. And whether that's through finding their confidence as a teenager, working on their self-esteem, to working with them through perimenopause, which is my kind of my new thing at the minute, all the way up to adult, just again allowing them to find themselves again, because I think sometimes we get a bit lost along the way, with all of the other roles that we have, whether that's work or being a mum or daughter, whatever it is, we sometimes forget ourselves. And I think it's really important that we kind of come back to that and support ourselves and each other, to become phenomenal and to become the amazing women that we are, because she's still there inside, and sometimes she just gets hidden under piles of everybody else's needs, wants, priorities and expectations, and I want to bring that out for everybody. So yeah.
Okay. I want to go back even earlier than that, though.
Oh God.
I know
No.
too much about you.
I
Right.
know. That's what's worrying me.
Well, no, I am particularly interested for something that you've just said there about she's there underneath it all.
Mm,
But there is a situation of, I know for me, I didn't know who
yeah.
was there and I didn't know what the
Yeah.
potential was. So what is your story?
I
Did
think
you
I was
know who
probably
was there when you...
no.
No,
No,
okay.
no, no, no. And I think, do you know what? And that's one of the reasons why I work with teenagers now, is because I want them to work out who they are at a
Hmm.
young age, so that when they're leaving school and going to uni, they're doing what they want to do, not what they feel that their parents might want them to do. Because I'll be honest, that's what I did. And it's not that I it's not that it was a bad thing, because
Hmm.
I had an absolutely fantastic career, but I followed the path that I was expected to follow, and it was great, but it wasn't necessarily me. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until, God, I must have been in my 30s, after I got married, had the kids. I'd got a great career doing what I loved, but I was given the opportunity to go down the route of coaching. And that was when I started to work out, hang on a minute, something's not right here. I'm not doing what I want to do.
Hmm.
I'm not spending enough time focusing on my own needs. I'm literally emptying my cup for everybody else, and then there's nothing left for me. And I'd sit there and I'd hit burnout, and I'd be ill, or I'd be in a corner rocking. Not quite, but it almost gets to that point. And I just remember, and I think this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about women, particularly around the perimenopause, because I think, and I only know this because I'm looking back now based on the training I've had recently, I think my perimenopause started in my late 30s. And the reason why I say that is because when I was learning about the spiritual shifts that we go through during the perimenopause, a lot of women sit there and go, is this it? Is this all that there is to life? I want more. I need more for me. And I did that. I had the most beautiful home. I had a fantastic life. I had a really well paid, high powered job, which I genuinely did enjoy. I had the two kids, we had holidays, I had the nice car and everything else. And I still sat there on the sofa and went, is this it?
Hmm.
So it wasn't about the things, it was about the my self-worth. It was about feeling fulfilled, feeling like I had a purpose, feeling like I was following what I was passionate about. And that led me on to a whole host of trials and tribulations, obviously with the divorce. But I needed to do that. I needed to do that for me. And it was hard. And there were times when I thought, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? But looking back now, I know I needed to do that because I'm still not there. I'm still not where I want to be. But it's a journey, and it's about doing little things every single day that kind of gets you to that, what I suppose, infinite purpose. That's not a term I've coined. That's something that I've heard from somebody else. But it's having that infinite purpose that every day that you're striving towards, whatever that is. And
I don't know what that means. Go on.
So an infinite purpose to me is everybody has goals and things that they want to do. Like, it could be losing weight, it could be getting that job, it could be starting a business, it could be earning that money, whatever it is. Everybody has goals, and we all strive and work hard towards those goals. But when we get there, what do we do then? So what's the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing? And an infinite purpose is having a higher level kind of goal, I suppose, that you're aiming towards, that everything, so that every day you, whatever it is that you're doing, is helping you reach that point. And you may never reach that point. It's just bringing that purpose into your life. That for me, it's about helping people. It's about helping women be amazing, be phenomenal. And if I can start that with girls in their tween age, teenage, then, and they take that with them all the way through into their adult life, then I've done my job. That for me is kind of my infinite purpose, if that makes any sense. And I have other ones as well. Like, it would a little bit, I remember I was wanting to lose a little bit of weight, wanting to be a bit more healthy. So rather than go, I want to lose X amount of stone, I went, right, my infinite purpose is I'm going to be active every day, and I'm going to eat healthily every day. So that it didn't put that pressure on me when I didn't do it every day. It made it that little bit easier to manage and to strive towards, so that, you know, if I did it for 3 days and then stopped, I wasn't beating myself up because I'd eaten a chocolate bar out of the fridge, or had a massive glass of wine, or sat on my ass all day, because that does happen, and some days you have to go with that. And so it's sort of taking away that guilt and allowing that humanness to come through, and to allow yourself to be, not do. Does that make sense at all? No one's waffles.
But I think what, as I said, the podcast is Stories About Speaking, because I see a relationship between us being able to put into words and give language to all of these ideas.
Yeah.
So obviously I haven't heard of infinite purpose before.
Yeah.
And you may have your own idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard infinite purpose from the girl who runs Tropic Skincare. They have an infinite purpose. It's Susan Marr. She has an infinite purpose. And I heard it on a podcast or a radio show where they were talking about having an infinite purpose. It's okay to have goals. Goals good. But it's also about having a bigger, wider reaching purpose. It's kind of what you're here on this planet to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And making sure that whatever it is that you're doing every day, every week, whatever, is helping you strive toward that. And it doesn't have to be big things. It can be little things, that baby steps, step by step you get there.
Yeah. But I think also sometimes when you hear some words and the way something is expressed, an idea, is something happens to you where it kind of clicks into place.
Yeah.
And although I might not click for those words, it clicks for you. And that's what I was trying to explain to people. It's almost like it lines up in your body. Well, for me, it's like a physical feeling of,
it is.
Ooh, this is it.
Yeah, it's that mind-body connection is so clear, and sometimes your body will pick up on it before your mind does. You kind of feel it if you're quite an intuitive or, I suppose, kinesthetic person. Some people might see it. Some people might see it as, my goal, my purpose is to seek to do this, or they might hear it, whatever that is. It's individual for everybody, and it might not resonate for everybody. And I kind of get that. You know, you've got to find what suits you and what works for you, and that's part of the fun of kind of figuring that out as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna daydream and go back a little bit more for you, because obviously I'm an outsider even though I've known you your whole
Yeah.
life, I'm an outsider to see different things. And 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 as you've become more of an adult and later in life, we haven't spoken so much, but I've known that you're into the spiritual and I've
Yeah.
known that you're into the coaching and
Yeah,
different
yeah,
things,
yeah.
but we haven't spoken so much. So in my mind, I'm trying to connect the dots too, in terms of what clues you were leaving along the way, because I was one of my earlier memories of something that you did was, weren't you one of the youngest gym coaches
Yeah.
or gym? Go on, say that story.
Yeah. God, that was a long time ago. So
Yeah,
yeah, I used to do a lot of gymnastics. Used to love the gymnastics. If I could do it now, I'd do it. I would do it, but I don't think my pelvic floor will allow me to do that. But I used to do a lot of gymnastics, and I was training 2-3 times a week. Absolutely loved it, and then had an injury and had to stop. And I was given the opportunity to do my coaching course, and I think the equivalent of it now, it was an assistant coaching course, but I think it might be a level 1 coach now, but it's all changed. But yeah, I was one of the youngest to do that, and I think I do like.
go on. How old? How old were you? You were a
I was
teenager.
13. I think
I
I was
have a
about
feeling
13,
you were
14.
young teens.
Yeah. And because I remember at the time I was going for physiotherapy on my wrist, because it was my wrist that I damaged.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't put any pressure on it or anything. So instead of doing the gymnastics, but to keep my interest in, to keep my passion for it in there, I did the coaching course. And do you know what? I absolutely loved it. And even now it's a similar sort of skill with what I'm doing now, just with a different topic, I suppose. It's supporting people and holding space for people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an outsider, but I'm like, well, that's interesting.
I never thought about that.
She was kind of, but also when I was 13, I was not in a place to be teaching or speaking like that, because that takes a certain confidence. I know that you were working with younger children and different things, but you're still in an adult world, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're showing up.
I was lucky because I was in a space where I was supported. So in order to support those girls, because it was mainly girls, I had people supporting me. So it's having that kind of backup and support there, and it was like my second home, because I spent so much time there. And the girls that I did it with were so lovely, and I think we supported each other, which was even better. It was about doing something for those kids and giving them the confidence to flip upside down if that's what they wanted to do, or hang off the bars. And it kept my passion in with it as well. And I think I've always known I'm a people person, even though it exhausts me, which is something that I've picked on more so as an adult. I don't think I quite realised it as a sort of child teenager. But being around people a lot does exhaust me. And I think I always thought I was a bit of an extrovert, but actually I'm not. I'm a total introvert. But I can be quite extroverted in places where I feel comfortable, or where I've kind of trained myself to do that as well. Because sometimes you need to be out there speaking, and it is scary. I mean, I've done 2 networks this week. One was with a women's group, which was brilliant. I did my 60-second pitch, and then I was given a 3-minute mic spot. I won it in that group. And I just did it. And then yesterday I went to a BNI network meeting, which is a lot more formal than men in there. Not that I don't like men, it was just a bit scary. And I totally screwed it up. Well, I didn't, but my inner critic, Ethel, is going, that wasn't as good as the one yesterday.
Ethel.
There is a reason for that. I used to read the Worst Witch books when I was a kid. Ethel was one of the nasty girls, and she had this very long, thin, kind of unpleasant face, and that's why how I imagine my inner critic.
Well, we have cousin Ethels, but I don't know. I know the name Ethel in the family tree, but I can't picture them or anything. But
I remember her, and she's nothing like the Ethel.
Nothing to do with that.
Nothing like the Ethel in The Worst Witch. It's just that's how I picture this long face, pinched, kind of looking down her nose person is in my head going, well, that wasn't good as it wanted yesterday. So it's,
I think I think it just shows what a different experience you're having to what I see
Yeah.
from the outside.
Oh,
And
yeah.
obviously, most of us are judging our own internal experience with what you see. So I see you, oh, you're the youngest gym coach and you're doing gymnastics, you're doing great. y- You're being successful in
Yeah.
doing these things. And then obviously I left school at 16, you went on and did university and you do a great career and
Yeah.
then you do a master's degree, and if anybody's wondering, she did pharmacy.
Yeah.
How old were you when you did your master's?
So I did my degree. I did obviously normal straight from
Normal
school
age.
to university, and then I did my clinical diploma straight from my pre-reg. So I was 22. So I did my 3 years at uni, did my year training, qualified as a pharmacist in the July, and started my diploma in the September.
Okay. In my mind, there'd been more of a wait in between the masters, because I remember you saying you wanted more when you did the masters.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously I've got a master, equivalent of a master's in executive coaching and business mentoring, which I did in my, well, I had the kids, so I was in my 30s.
That's later.
Mid-30s. But I think, I remember starting as a community pharmacist and going, I can't do this forever. I cannot do this job in community forever. And around that time, pharmacists working in primary care, so in general practice with GPs, was becoming more, it was very early stages, but it was becoming more common. And the way to get into that was to do extra qualifications, so clinical diplomas, which is what I did, and then ended up through doing that and through meeting people on that course, getting a job in a practice, and that kind of then snowballed my career into primary care, which is where I've spent most of my career. Even when I was working for the MOD, that was still very much a primary care focus, but with a military slant on it. And then since then, for the last 3 years up until November, I've been working in general practice again, with GPs, hands-on with patients. So yeah, it's always been work. And what's been interesting over the last sort of 3 years is I've done more coaching with patients than I've done pharmacy.
As I say, I know that I'm kind of going backwards. It's just that, as I say, for me, I'm kind of trying to connect the dots, because I see you as being fairly confident about your abilities, and certainly in terms of academic abilities.
Yeah, I suppose so. I doubt myself every single day. I think I'm very, very good at hiding it. Because
but you've never thought yourself a stupid or anything like that?
No. Although there are days when I'll go,
stupid things.
But really do that? Although part of that I think is hormonal. I actually forgot what the word cloud was as part of perimenopause, and couldn't for the life of me think what the word was.
Yeah.
And half an hour later, when Tim stopped laughing, and he went, "That's a cloud."
Yeah.
Really? What's the matter with you? But yeah, I think academically I've always been good. I have found it a struggle. I have to work really, really hard. But I've learned.
Are you talking about now? You're okay.
No.
Is this more recently that you're saying you're having to work, or no? Or
no, I think I've always had to work hard. And I have found it difficult. I found it GCSEs difficult. I found A levels difficult. I think sometimes some things just didn't fall into place. They did when not when I started my clinical diploma, but I think probably about halfway through my clinical diploma, after I'd done my degree, I was working as a pharmacist, and things just started to make sense. I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether it's because I was actually doing what I was supposed to be doing, but also being able to apply it practically. So yeah, I did find it really, really hard. Less so now, although I had to do, when I went back to clinical practice 3 years ago, I had to do an 18-month training course of clinical skills, just to upskill in order to do the job I was doing. And even then I found that a challenge in some respects, but not others. It depends on the topic. It depends on how interested I am in it and how it applies to what I do. So if it's anything to do with mental, emotional stuff, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
If so, with that particular course, if it was to do with diabetes or heart failure or anything like that, I wasn't interested. And I think that's part of the problem.
Okay.
If I'm interested in it, I'll put my all into it. So when I did my coaching courses and my various NLP things, because I got it, I understood it, I was interested in it, I could see the benefit of it, I could see how it was going to help me as well as other people, I was in it. I was in the zone. And what those things also allowed me to do was to bring my own personality and creativity into it as well. So for things like my NLP practitioner and my master practitioner, we had to do an assessment at the end, or an assignment at the end, to talk about what the course had, how we changed through the course and what it represented to us. And I actually did 2 paintings. I don't know whether you can see, you probably can't see it now. One of them, the second one, let me just tilt the camera, is that tree at the top of the camera. The first one I did was a massive canvas of the life cycle of the butterfly, and the second one is the whole tree. So it's kind of a progression from just the branch to the whole tree. And for me, that allowed me to bring my creativity into what I was doing. And I think if I'm allowed to do that, then I'm happy doing it. And that's what I love about the coaching, because I can be a little bit creative. I can bring elements of my own experience, my own imagination, my own thoughts, things that I've learned, things that I've picked from other places. I can bring it all together and make it my own. And I think I'd
forgotten about all the art and different things like that.
Let me just show you this. This is my next leveled up from the picture.
Yeah.
I've made a tree.
Ooh. No, hang on. What's it made of?
It's a little like tree with lights on it. So you know the trees that you get from like the craft places. That's actually white. Well, I've painted it.
Yeah.
And put leaves and flowers on. There's a little.
Nice.
I don't know whether you can see.
And is that like a tissue paper? It looks almost like a greaseproof paper.
It's tissue paper on the leaves. There's a little. I don't know whether you can see.
Yeah.
The little spider's web.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is made from glue.
A glue gun.
Gotta love a hot glue gun. There's a little. I don't know whether you can see him. There's a little. I'll tilt him down. I think he's just about to see. There's a little owl there, which is actually on the picture.
Okay.
So he's representing things like your wise friend. So when you going through coaching, I'll ask you, what do you think? What does the other person think? If you had a wise friend, what would they say about this situation? So it's getting you to step out of yourself and look at it from an even different, more distant perspective and stuff. So there's lots of little things on there that
I like it.
I know.
I'm pleased to see you doing art stuff as well, because as I say, I knew you were doing like the NLP and the training, and I knew that you were actively learning, but I didn't realise you were doing so much exploring.
I haven't done. That's the first thing I've done for a long time, and that was partly because it just it fits quite nicely with my program, which I'm kind of developing, but may well up level again, because I'm doing another coaching course over the next few months, which has been as a result of me winning the award. I've been given an opportunity to up level even more, which I'm really excited about. So that might then bring even more stuff into it. But I do love the art, and I think I love the bits that I'm getting now. I'm kind of creating stuff on Canva or whatever. So it's not always painting; it's other stuff as well. So
I've never done any kind of sculpting or 3-dimensional type of stuff.
I've not done it before either, and I had a great fun. And I got the time lapse, so I've got videos of me actually doing it for time lapse camera, because I will use it at some point in my socials just to kind of talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it was great doing it, and it was nice just to play. We don't play enough.
Anyway, my mind is wandering again.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm interested in what you're saying, and there's something, as you were talking earlier, when you're realizing different skills and different, and that say you come alive with certain topics,
Yeah.
are you being given feedback about that, or are you just
Just
noticing it yourself?
I notice my energy shift,
Oh, it's the energy. Yeah.
and that has literally been, particularly over the last 12 months.
Oh,
I used
okay.
to love pharmacy, and this is what's driven my kind of need to give it up. I loved pharmacy. I enjoyed it. That's why I spent 26 years doing it. However, I was obviously doing the pharmacy job 20 hours a week, and also running the business and seeing my clients. I used to come back from work as a pharmacist and feel totally drained. I then used to see a client and my energy would go through the roof.
Yeah.
So for me, it was about recognising what was energy draining and what was energy boosting. And it was clear to me where the difference was. And that's what drove my decision that it was time. Don't get me wrong, I still can do the pharmacy, and I am sort of, to an extent, with my perimenopause program that I've got at the minute, because I can advise people, but that's not what gives me a buzz. What gives me a buzz is talking about the spiritual shifts and the emotional shifts and all that kind of stuff, and supporting people through that, and teaching them how to meditate so that they can take it home and do it with them, and all of that kind of, that's what gives me the buzz. Or having a teenage student, I've got one this evening, come and we sit and we work out a whole revision timetable for her, because she's about to do her GCSEs, and she comes in feeling stressed, and she goes away feeling, I can do this. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's what gives me the buzz. That's what makes me get up every day and, just...
I'm really pleased for you. I'm kind of smiling because I didn't do any revision. So I'm like, and obviously you know me well enough to know that I probably never revised in my life. So...
I mean, she's this.
But you're good. You were good at that kind of thing.
Yeah. Although, no, I wasn't really. I think I gave off a good impression. I did do revision, and this girl is what I want her to do. And I've said this to her. I said it's not about your results. I said it's you. This is just a stepping stone to the next level. And I hate the fact that kids are put under so much pressure.
Yeah.
You must do this, and you must do that, and And don't get me wrong, my kids are working hard and are doing very, very well, but they just seem to be naturals at it. So, because Sam, he could do a lot more work, but he's still doing well with what he's doing now. So, but I know that there are kids out there, because I work with them, that when school goes, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, just go. Because I can't do it.
But I think it's their starting point.
Yeah.
This is a little bit off track, but when I went to university, I was 25, so I was older, and I remember them giving us all these messages of don't walk around on a night because it's dangerous, it's really dangerous, it's super dangerous. But I was already aware of dangers, so I was like, my goodness, how scary. I felt pretty crushed by
planting
it.
Seeds,
But obviously my starting point was I'm already aware of the world and that things can go wrong. And then this extra was put on top. But I think they were speaking to 18-year-olds who were a bit more naive than that.
Yes.
And I think that's the point with these teenagers. Some of them are already starting off with, I'm putting this much pressure on myself.
Yes.
And then just an extra few voices, and suddenly they're outnumbered. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're just... Any positive voice in their head, they're outnumbered.
Yeah. So what I end up doing with an awful lot of them is basically said to them, I want you to come out on, so we've given, rather than focusing on the results, she's focusing on going to see a concert just before her exams start.
Okay.
And she's also going to a festival after she gets her results. I said, I want you to come out on results day and feel like that you've done the best that you can. That doesn't have to be all nines. Ellie did this. She started her year 10, and they said to her, we want you to set yourself a target for your GCSE years. And so she set herself a target of all nines, and then melted like 3 weeks later because it was so hard. So I turned around to her and said, right, let's just ask Sam. So I said to Sam, how many people in your year when you did your GCSEs got all nines in all 9 of their GCSEs? And he went 1. And he said he worked in his lunch hour, he worked after school, he worked all weekend. So I said to Ellie, do you want to do that? And she went, no.
Yeah.
I said, well, let it go then. Because it's not yes, you need to hit a level if you want to take it to the next level, but you don't have to get 9s all the time. Good enough is good enough sometimes. And it's about getting the results you need to take you to the next level. Because when was the last time anybody asked you what your GCSE results were? They don't. No. It's just the next step to the next level and the next level and the next level.
It's so hard. I mean, you just don't have that world experience to know that at that point.
No, and that's one of the things, and school don't tell you that. And that's one of the things that I make a point of saying is, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Let's look at this in the bigger world sense. Yes, they're important, but they're not the only thing. You have got other options. As long as you do your best and you come out of that exam going, yeah, I did all right actually. Yeah. That's okay.
But it's, as I say, I'm aware of different things that you've learned, and I know that you've learned about the NLP, and then you did the master practitioner and different things. But your title as a coach is well-being.
Yeah.
So
that's partly because that's what I tend to focus on with most people.
Yeah.
Most people, adults mainly. Kids, it's a little bit different because it tends to be more about confidence and actually, a lot of them come to me with anxiety. So yeah, it is well-being. What I find is when people come to see me, they're either burning out, or they have burnt out, or they're on the track to burn out, and they don't know how to deal with it. Because I think as humans, particularly women, we're crap at self-care. Until we hit a wall and then we go, oh shit. And so what I tend to spend a lot of my time doing in the initial stages of working with people is developing really good self-care practices with them. Because as we start to unpick all the other stuff that's kind of pushing them down this particular road of feeling lost or feeling confused or not sure where they want to go, I need for them to have a really solid foundation of self-care that keeps them afloat. Because if I start helping them remove limiting beliefs or start reflecting back to them what's not necessarily working, or talking to them about what they want to leave behind, what they want to take forward, it's hard. Going through that change and that shift and understanding about yourself, whether the good bits and the bad bits, is really hard work. And I need people to have a really good foundation of self-care that keeps them, and I will hold space for them to an extent, but they have to do it themselves, because they're making the changes. I'm just kind of holding their hand as they go through it. And so that's why I've brought in the meditation, I've brought in the reiki. I spend a lot of time focusing on self-care practices, whether that's being creative, whether that's literally taking yourself off for a couple of hours for a cup of coffee. It's something, what I say to people is like sprinkling like confetti over your day. It doesn't have to be a spa day. It can literally be sat in the car when you get home and having a couple of minutes of deep breathing before you come in the house.
Yeah.
Because that's what I sometimes have to do.
I noticed as well that I'm not listening to music like I used to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's little things like that. So I found I listen to music a lot when I'm meditating, depending on what music I'm listening, what I'm doing. What I found is we've got a Spotify account, and they've created for me this relaxing mix which changes. And what I often end up doing is putting it on while I've got clients here, or putting it on while I'm working, because it's nice to have that background music. And it's quite chilled, so it keeps you in that kind of chilled space. But the other thing I do, if I'm ever in the car on my own, I put on some banging tunes and sing at the top of my voice, because singing is really good for you. Not only is it really good for your breathing, because it makes you breathe properly, but it also lifts your happy hormones as well. So if you're feeling depressed, they have done trials and stuff around depression and saying that singing is really good for you. So yeah, banging tunes on, sing your heart out, whether it's musicals, whether it's whatever you want, do it.
Yeah. Okay, well, you mentioned about having clients at the home. So is most of your work in person?
Yeah. And that is deliberate. I can do online, but I want people here in my space here.
Yeah.
And it is a lovely, lovely space. What I'll have is I'll have chilled out music on. I've got a couple of salt lamps. We've got sparkly lights in here. I'll have the aromatherapy oils going.
Option of the dog.
Option of the dog, absolutely. She's here
Yeah.
now. The dog's there and the cat's there. You can have the cat, but he's a little less.
Yeah.
He'll come in when he wants to, not when the client wants to. Whereas Poppy's like, client, I've got work. And it's because it's very private here, so you kind of walk down the garden, and although this is the front garden, you kind of walk down, and you feel very enclosed and very kind of nestled in nature, because it's all the garden around you. And I've deliberately done it that way because I want it to be a safe space. I want people to come here and be able to go and feel relaxed, and when they're relaxed, then we can delve into what's happening, what we need to work on, how we need to do that, and they'll open up more to me, and we can talk about what we need to focus on. Or if they're just coming for Reiki, they come in here and the same sort of thing. And I've done meditation in here as well. One of these days I'm going to do meditation with a client in the garden when the weather's nice, but the weather's usually crap when it happens, so it doesn't always work. But there's something about meditating out in nature that's just lovely. But it's about having that space to do that, and having being in their energy as well. Is a good thing for me. I have to protect my energy, but having them in my space allows that to, because I can literally hold space for them, which is what I want to be able to do.
Yeah, but you're also, I mean, I don't know whether this is the right expression, but you're kind of listening for their energy and their changes, aren't you? Because sometimes when you say something, you can feel, they're resisting that, or
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you can kind of do that online, but it's so much better when you've got them in the room. So much better. And if they need me to just sit and listen, then we can do that. I have had that. I had one of my very first clients, the first few weeks, I sensed that she wasn't telling me everything, but I wasn't going to force it. She had to be ready to talk about it in her own time. And I think it was the third session she came in, she went, right, I need to talk to you about something. And I was like, right, okay, put the books down, notes down, nothing. I said, just talk. And she talked, got everything out. We did a couple of exercises and stuff, and I made some suggestions and things. And she just skyrocketed after that. It was like she needs to get that out the way and done. But she had to feel safe with me, but also safe enough in herself to be able to do that and to be able to have that conversation. So
no, that's really interesting. And I think as I've been listening to you, I know that I can tell that you like the Reiki and you're talking about the meditation and different things, but it sounds like you've got a lot of tools so that anybody who comes to you. And what's interesting too is that obviously the pharmacy background, where I think I was saying to you on Facebook the other day, is that in a way they've been separate worlds, but they're not separate worlds.
No,
they are.
Really,
because if I was talking to you about, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that, your knowledge about the actual medicalization, physical stuff could be really valuable.
It is. It
just
really
to have at the back
help.
of your mind.
Yeah, it really helps, because I've had a couple of clients come to me who I think they came because I offer everybody a free sort of what I call become phenomenal check-in, where you come and meet me, meet the dog if you want to. We sit and talk. I find out what's going on. The client and I talk about what I do and me and my story and stuff. And the whole point of that is really to work out whether we can work together, because for me having that rapport with somebody is key. If we've got that rapport, we can do anything. If we haven't, it's not going to work. So that's the whole point of that meeting and it's free for a purpose, because I don't want people to feel like if they go away they're obligated to continue working with me, because they're not. If it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. So it has to feel right to both of us. And I've had a couple of clients who came in, and this one in particular, I think she came for some Reiki because she was suffering from headaches. But as I delved a bit further, I was like, are you sure you're not perimenopausal? And she's like, well, I might be. And I haven't started, I've been given some patches, but I haven't started them because I was worried about the headaches. And I was like, well, actually, headaches might be part of the perimenopause, so starting the patch might actually help. So, and I went through all the sort of symptoms that she might be experiencing. She was like, yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that. I was like, right, okay. It might be worth having a try of them just to see whether it does anything, because if it doesn't, then we know it's not that. But it's very likely, given your age and all the symptoms that you've got, that is the problem. And it's really helpful to be able to do that. And because I've also worked in general practice, I know broadly how the system works and what things you kind of need to be saying to your GP to be able to kind of navigate the pathway that you need to get to where you need to be. So it's about, have you thought about asking this question, or tell them about this, or tell them about that? So it's been really helpful to be able to blend those, which I never thought I would. I thought it would go a slightly different way, but it's gone the opposite way. But that's the way I prefer it to go, because I was going to become a prescriber, but I just wasn't interested in it at all. I don't want to prescribe. I'm really not interested in it, because I thought maybe I could go down that route and become a prescriber and look after mental health patients and do a lot more coaching with them than I do prescribing and stuff, and that's fine. But it was too my energy just wasn't in it. And so the other way is this way, well-being way. Yes, I can use my pharmacist skills, but they're just a tool that I now use when I need to use them, because not everybody needs that, but it's useful to have that.
I think we don't talk about energy enough. I think there's a temptation to talk about energy as in, I'm not eating very well and so I'm tired, rather than that emotional, this just lights me up.
Yes, we do. And you can see and it's something that I think more so since I've done my Reiki training, but I think I've always kind of been aware of it. And I think, although not necessarily understood what it was, I think it was more a feeling than a knowing. But it's becoming, the older I get and the more into it I get, the stronger it's getting, the more I notice stuff. And I notice other people's as well. I was in a meeting yesterday, this BNI meeting, and I watched this girl, just this image, this expression flash across her face. I don't think anybody else noticed it. And I was like, ooh! I don't think you realised you did that then, because it was quite disparaging to the guy that was actually talking.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, it made me really, really uncomfortable. I was just like, I don't think anybody else noticed that, but I certainly did, and that wasn't good.
Well, I think for me it was a lot of giving people feedback about when they're doing presentations or speaking and different things, and it's like, even just to give them the feedback of, you light up when you talk about this, and they go, do I? Because I think just pointing it out to somebody,
people don't
then they go,
it.
that is what I'm feeling inside, but I had no idea that other people could see it.
And it's funny because I watched that with my clients as well, where they'll talk about something and then we'll shift topic and their whole body language will shift, and you'll be like, okay, that's where you need to go. That's what we need to do more of, not that. And I say to them, your whole body language has just changed. You can watch people's faces, and when they're talking about something that doesn't bring them any joy, doesn't bring them any kind of interest or passion, their faces are very, very different. But when they're passionate about something, I mean, you can see my face now, the blood's flowing to my face because I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about. And that to me says that's where my energy's going. The energy's going where I'm talking, because I'm talking about it. Whereas if I was talking about something else that I wasn't interested in, it would be different. And you can see that in people. Their whole body language changes, the expression on their face, the way that they speak. I'm very hands talk, and I think that's where their passion is. That's where their energy needs to be kind of channeled, I suppose, into that thing or that topic or that.
And from your work with teenagers, are teenagers being told this at school? Are they being told, you light up? Like,
No. And this is what bugs me. They don't have any kind of knowledge, expertise, well, not even expertise. They don't have any understanding about their emotions, or they're not taught it unless their parents do it with them. And I think this is something that's really, really key, because a lot of the time these kids will feel anger. And anger is always the first emotion that comes through. And it's not really the emotion that's actually happening. There's a whole host of other stuff that's going on underneath, whether that's disappointment, frustration, anxiety, shame, guilt, oh, you name it, it's there. You know, it's all that kind of the Brené Brown stuff. And we don't do that with teenagers, and it's something that I'd like to do with them all, is to almost help them create their own, what I call an emotionary. So there's a dictionary of their own emotions, so that they're using the language that they want to use when they're feeling something, and I get them to kind of understand where they're feeling it, understand why they might be feeling it, where it's coming from. I talk a lot about the fight, flight, freeze response and why we react in certain ways, because in certain situations some people will fight, some people will literally run in the opposite direction, and some people will just shut themselves off and they will freeze. And it's getting them to understand what's happening to them and why it's happening to them, so that they can then have a sort of a logical process in their head, and then I can teach them the tools to be able to manage it better when they're in that space, or at least prevent them from getting to that space. We don't do that enough. We don't.
But it's so important to have the language, because there's such a close connection between how your ability to think through a problem, but once you've been given that terminology, then suddenly it's like a light being turned on in your brain, isn't it? It's like, oh yes, that's what I'm doing.
I'm doing it. That's why I'm shutting down, because I'm literally freezing, because I'm so frightened about doing that I'm freezing. Or boys fight when they're being attacked, it's stamping, whereas girls, I think girls will freeze, sometimes they'll fright, but mainly freeze. The other thing they do is fawn. So
I do the fawning.
I do the fawning. Ellie does the fawning. We all people please, because we don't want that conflict. And it's exhausting, because you spend so much time fawning that you think you don't realise you're in that fight, flight, freeze response. So it's about teaching kids to self-regulate their emotions and regulate, so that their body is back into that rest and digest, rather than constantly in that. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just that space of.
And also, I say, like, I asked you particularly about teenagers, but in a way, it was because I know as an adult that I wasn't taught those things, and I was hoping that you would say, yes, some things are different in the educational system, but I was kind of assuming that your adults would still have to learn it. So in a way, it's not getting better coming through the system. It's going to be a while.
In fact, what's really frustrating, I think, is, and I think I've seen, it was bad before COVID, it's even worse now.
Okay.
Because a lot of kids, particularly teenagers, don't get me wrong, COVID was horrible for everybody.
Yeah.
However, for kids, particularly teenagers, or sort of the late sort of primary school years, their entire world was ripped out from underneath their feet. They had no routine, they weren't with their friends, they couldn't go out and do anything, they were with people that they probably didn't really want. No kid wants to be with their family when they're in sort of tween teenage. They're not spending time with my parents. And they had that ripped out from underneath them. And they were told to figure it out, do everything at home. And then they were told, oh, you can go back to school now, it's all fine. Carry on, crack on, it's all great.
And they've got the physical stuff, and they've got the body changing, and kind of like the perimenopause. I mean, for me, listening to this it might sound like we're jumping around in terms of clients, but for me, I just see it completely overlapping. Like you say, the well-being, there's actual physical stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's chemical changes in your body. Yeah. And you may not have the language to know how to talk about this and get help. You know.
And you may not have the people around either to be able to have that help. And the teachers don't have the knowledge or expertise to be able to do it. They don't even have the time to be able to do it, because they're so busy work. I mean, teachers so busy as it is. So let's just give them something else to talk about with emotional stuff. And you're just like, no, they're not the right people to do it. You need somebody external to come in and do it, who's trained in those things and trained to understand those languages and has that language and be able to have tools and techniques to be able to do that with them. The kids that have been through COVID haven't had that validation of it was shit.
Yeah.
It was really shit. It's okay to feel awful about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're here to support you with it. They haven't had that validation that it's okay. It was awful for everybody and we get it. The other thing that's happening is those kids have lost a good year, 18 months of development that they would have had they been in school. So they've gone back to school at the age of, say, 14, but developmentally they're actually about 13 or younger. And they're being expected to function at that level. And it's like they don't have the emotional intelligence to do that because they haven't been through that developmental stage. Because the exposure to being with their friends in school and all of those, like a little bit like Ellie missed out on she went from year 6 to year 7 during COVID. She missed out on their kind of the party at the end of the year. They got to see each other for a few hours, but there was no sort of prep in order to get them ready to go to secondary school and to have the day in the secondary school, which they used to do, and have the party at the end and spending time to be able to say goodbye to their friends because they couldn't really be in contact with each other properly. And then they was just dumped in at the deep end, and then it was all back. Am I in school? Am I out of school? Am I in school? Am I out of school? What the heck is going on? And they were all in different groups and there were different things going on. It just wasn't normal. And it's just made things 10 times worse. And then the services that you would expect to be able to support those kids are on their knees, and they were on their knees before COVID, so it's even worse.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when it comes to services, I mean, certainly in the UK, like going through your doctor and different services, there seems to be an assumption of you wait until crisis point, rather than when you need help.
Hit crisis point, you have to wait 6 months to see somebody, and then when you do see them, they can't do anything.
But I remember when you were a pharmacist saying, people coming into you saying, I want to give up smoking, and you said, in 3 months, is that okay? You know, that was the help that you could offer. And it's like, oh, that's ridiculous. They're ready to give up now. They're in the office, in the room now.
And they want to do it now. So we need to do it now, because in 3 months' time, they'll have gone back to smoking and they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
They're not interested. You've missed the boat. And I mean the kids that don't want to go to school. I think that was the other thing that's happened through COVID is there's this become this element of, oh well, I managed through for a year at home in my pajamas, so missing a couple of days at school isn't going to make any difference. Actually does. Having that routine.
Is it that, do you think, or is it the anxiety that?
It's a bit of everything. There's anxiety about going into school. It's about anxiety about performance. Anxiety about how much pressure that they put on themselves, because I hate to say it, social media is skewing their view of life, because you know, there's these people on boats in the sunshine and all this kind of stuff, and this is the life that you could have had. Me and some of my friends think that these people that post those pictures are actually sat on the sofa in their pants.
Well, I've seen some of these fake influencers on like, they're pretending to be on a private jet, and you just think, I just can't imagine getting out of bed and wanting to do that.
No.
I can't imagine wanting to be that kind of person that fakes their whole life.
I know. You know. Why are you doing that? But they're putting these stories out there, and kids are looking at it going, that's what I want. That's real life, that is. So I need to work really, really hard, or I need to do my vlogs on YouTube, and I want to be a vlogger and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, no,
I do think a different story is coming through, though, because Solly does watch YouTube, and occasionally now asking her questions, and a new story seems to be coming through of those people are fake and those people are this, and you know, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's
good.
In a way, it's like a wave of those kind of videos
Yeah.
pointing out the ridiculousness
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of some things.
Yeah, I'm glad that's happening because I remember doing a load of work just before COVID. I was working with two other coaches in schools doing various things with sort of year 10, 11 students. And it was really interesting because our perception was that those were the ones that were looking at like social media and going,
Yeah.
oh, that's true and this is true and I need to do the duck face and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. And when we actually spoke to them, it was the younger years that were doing that. So I don't
Yeah.
know whether there's this element that it's moving up younger, but now it's getting to a point where the more astute younger
Yeah.
kids are going, oh, that's just rubbish.
Yeah.
I don't believe
Yeah.
that. And
But
that's
the
where we
thing
need
is,
them to be.
yeah, but you just don't know which rabbit hole they're going to go down.
No,
I mean,
no,
I don't know for myself whether I'm getting a complete picture of things, let alone.
exactly.
I mean, at the moment, I've been researching health stuff and some YouTube doctors, and they recommend a diet, and I was doing the diet, and Solly was like, "Stop listening to YouTube doctors." My daughter's 10, so
But good on her.
yeah,
Good on her.
my doctor is nowhere to be seen, So,
Yeah.
but
No,
it was
good
quite.
on her. That's what we
quite
want more
funny.
of.
Yeah, some questioning and different things.
I think
But,
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's about teaching those kids what I would call kind of critical analysis, critical appraisal
Yeah.
of, is what I'm watching actually real? Is it true? And if it's not true, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
And am I going to continue to watch this anymore? Or because I've got quite a few teenagers who have got body image issues, self-esteem issues, and they are beautiful, beautiful girls and you sit there and you go, why? Where is this coming from? Because I look at you and think, wow.
Yeah.
So it's about, but it's not always about how they look, it's about how they feel inside, and it's teaching them about that. I've actually just started working with a local charity called Cherished, who go into schools and do an awful lot of stuff, mainly with girls, but they've also got a program called Raw, which is for boys. And they do some stuff around self-esteem, but I think they need to do more. A lot of it is trauma-based, but I think, which again I get, there's a lot of kids out there who've been through trauma and are really struggling. However, there's a cohort of kids, particularly around here, who on the face of it you think are doing okay, but they're not.
Yeah.
And they've got fairly wealthy parents who can pay for stuff, and that's the ones that I've ended up seeing, because the parents can actually pay to see me, for the kids to see me, but their self-esteem is on the floor, and you look at these girls and you think, oh, this is so sad. So you kind of do things to work with them to build themselves up again, and to start seeing who they are on the inside, because it's beautiful inside and out. You don't have to be the skinniest.
It's like, if at all possible, avoid, don't wait until the crisis point.
Yes.
Whether you're a parent with a teenager or you're older or whatever, don't wait to the crisis point. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
And just that conversation.
Yeah. And listen to them. I mean, Ellie's been having a rough time recently, and she went through a phase of not wanting to talk to us. She will talk to me now, because I've sort of said, look, some of the things she said to me the other day, I was like, Els, I get it, because I feel the same way too. And I think sometimes it's about saying to those girls that actually a lot of women, whatever age they are, feel exactly the same. They look in the mirror and go,
I'd say a memory just came up during the COVID time. One of the things was I wasn't seeing other women because, there was no social thing.
Yeah,
but also my friendship groups were fairly informal and revolved around other moms at the school. And so I would see them at the school gates, and then we'd all walk back home, and then you'd stand outside your house and chat a little bit.
I remember that.
There was none of that.
Yeah.
There was none of that. And in a way, that's the same thing of, I'm not hearing that, oh, this thing that's going on with my husband is just a normal husband-wife thing.
Yeah.
It's not a crisis or it's not a
Yeah.
drama. It's just, let's laugh about it.
Yeah.
But all of those conversations, in a way, it's a different level conversation, isn't it? But once you lose that
Yeah.
lighter level conversation,
Yeah. You lose
you
the
kind of
deeper
fall.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
No, you're
fall a
right.
bit.
And it's having that connection with people, and I think COVID really highlighted how important it is.
Yeah.
That like the face-to-face connection, going out for walking home with the other mums, and sort of go, oh god, the other half did this the other day, I can't believe it, I'm going to murder him. You know, and is that normal? Does that happen? And your friends kind of go, yeah, I get it, I've been there.
You don't
And
even need to say, is that normal?
Yeah,
you don't even say, is that normal? And they go, oh yeah, let me tell you what my husband did.
And so it validates what you're going through. It is okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing, is that we are all probably going through very, very similar shit.
Yeah.
And having people to share that with and go, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I see you. I've got your back when it all goes tits up.
So so you're having those conversations, but then when you come to see a coach, particularly a well-being coach, you're also being offered like a bit of a buffet of, okay, these are a few different tools. What feels good? What, you know.
And that's literally what I do. I blend what I do. So some of my clients will come and have coaching and Reiki. Some will have coaching, meditation and Reiki. Some will just have coaching. Some it varies, and some will have it regularly. Some will have it every few months. One of my clients I haven't seen for a year, but I'm seeing her next week. And so it varies with different people as to what they want and how they want to do it. I had a client a couple of months ago who we did a coaching session, then we did Reiki, and then we had a little catch up afterwards as well to see whether the Reiki brought anything up. But sometimes they just literally want somebody to listen to them.
Yeah.
And go, I hear you. I see you.
Yeah.
And I'm here for you. I've got you. I'm holding space for you. It is okay to feel that way. It is okay to get upset about the little things. It's okay to get upset about the big things. But let's look at how we can kind of make things better for you, and how you can, because we can't change other people, we can only change ourselves. So sometimes it's about resetting some boundaries. It's about looking at it in a different way. There's a whole host of things that you can do.
Yeah, I did an interview with somebody the other week, and she's just written a book about boundaries, and she collects scripts, so it's literally like a sentence of, in this situation I can say this, in this situation, and I was like,
amazing.
And I was like, yes, I want to know exactly what the words are. Because I can't think fast enough.
There's a guy that I follow on Facebook called Jefferson Fisher. He's a lawyer. He's I don't know whether he's a criminal, but he's in America. And he sits in his car and he records these videos. It's brilliant. And when you're in this situation, this is how to deal with it. 1, 2, 3. And he is brilliant. And he's so down to earth and so normal. But he's like this high-powered lawyer in court all the time. But he's worked out these ways to kind of stop people in their tracks and to sort of give you the language and the words to go, no.
Yeah.
I'm not having that.
But I think that's what you're doing in a way. You're saying, okay, we're just going to take a step back, a bit of time out.
Yeah.
And a chance to have
reflect.
A choice of reflect.
Because we have a choice. Reflect, have a choice. How do you want to go this way? Which way would you like to go? What feels more comfortable to you?
Yeah.
Noting that if we're stuck in our comfort zone, we won't go anywhere, so it might need to feel a little bit uncomfortable. So what I would call push you into your stretch zone, but not your panic zone. And then your stretch zone becomes your comfort zone, and then your panic zone becomes stretch zone. So every time you're kind of growing outwards. So it's doing things that make you a little bit scared, but not to the point where you're going to panic about it. And those are the baby steps that move you forward and challenge what you've normally, because if we always do what we've always done, we always get what we always got. So we have to make those changes, and it is going to feel weird to begin with, because our brain wants us to stay in the familiar space. It doesn't like new stuff, and it will go nuts when you start doing something new. but it will settle after a while. It
Yeah,
will
but I think
calm.
there's, I think the reason that they're ending up with you is that there is a part of them that wants to be moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's the conflict. Because if there was
Yeah.
no conflict,
They just stay with the work.
then they'd be happy and everything
Yeah.
would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's the fact
But it's
that there is
having that
conflict.
person to go, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
And let's work out how you're going to do it, and the things that you could say, let's practice it now, or
Yeah.
let's do a little technique that makes this work, that we can almost role play it in a way, but you can look at it from your side, from their side, but look at it from, you know, what I call the third position and fourth position. So you're looking at it from different ways, and sometimes that's when you get the, oh shit, of course, that's what I need to do, and they just do it.
Yeah.
And it happens really, really fast once they've had that light bulb moment, and that's what I love watching. Is I feel like sometimes I don't do anything. I just stand there and ask questions, but that's the whole point of it. Is that I'm not doing the work; they're doing the work. I'm just there, nudging them in little directions and sort of watching and listening and just, you know, kind of reflecting back to them what they might be doing that they haven't necessarily realised that they're doing.
Yeah. Look, I want to be conscious of the time, but I do want to ask you about your award. Congratulations. Oh no, I'll be done for, I don't think YouTube would recognise my singing, that it was actually so congratulations, winner. Wellbeing Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say about that award, about the type of work that you were put forward for, or
I actually don't know who put me forward for this award. Somebody nominated me, and I don't know who it was, because when I found out I'd been nominated, I'd nominated myself for an award as well. So I actually got 2 nominations in the same week. And now the first one I was kind of expecting, because I'd nominated myself, because that's what you do with some of these awards. But somebody else nominated me for this, and I was like, what the heck? Where's this come from? And so I had to fill out a whole little questionnaire and everything else, which they deliberately said, we want you to be real, we want you to be honest, we want you to be yourself in this. So I did. I had a little bit of help from a business mentor with that, but she just tweaked it a little bit. But that was, and I just submitted it, and that was it. And then in the November, I think I'd been off a pharmacy job for 3 months with stress, because last year was horrible in that job for various different reasons. And I'd literally on the Saturday decided that I was going to give up that job. And I spoke with Tim about it on the Saturday morning, and then went off for the day with my meditation buddies, and did an ice bath.
I was going to say, this is the ice bath, I think. Yeah,
this was the ice bath. So I was like, so that was the day that I did that. And then on the Monday, I volunteer at a cancer centre in Tamworth, doing reiki, and missed an email from this company. Got to Tuesday, and they said, I got another email saying, oh well, you would have seen the email from yesterday. And I was like, what email? So I didn't go through all the bloody emails, and then I got this, you are a finalist, and I was like, what the flip?
I need a new frock.
Well, what was interesting was the timing. It was, the synchronicities of...
I love the synchronicity.
You are doing the right thing. Fast forward to the 8th of April, because I resigned 3 days later from a pharmacy job. Had I worked my notice, my last day of my notice was the day of the awards ceremony. So synchronicity number 2.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a real cementing of, you are doing the right thing, as scary as it is, and as disconcerting and worrying and all the other stuff, because money and all that kind of stuff, as scary as it is, this is where you need to be, this is what you need to be doing. And I think that was the kind of shit. It's real. Excuse my language, but it was. This is real. This is. I have been, and what I think was really important for me was that it was an actual coaching award through a coaching organisation. So it wasn't a business award. It wasn't about me running the best business. It was about me being the best at what I do.
Making a difference.
And making a difference. And what was really interesting on the night was there were 6 people in my group, and they did a runner-up presentation in the group, and then they started reading out what the judges had said about the winner, and so they read all this stuff out, and I went, well, that's not me then, is it? And then my face appeared.
Oh, okay.
I went,
yes,
and then burst into tears.
yes,
because I just didn't expect it at all. I was just totally overwhelmed. I sat and shook for about an hour afterwards, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind since then, and it's calmed down a bit now. And then I obviously came away going, oh, well, I need to do lots with this, and I need to do lots with that. And my dad would come round and go, you need to do something with that, and I'd be like,
yeah,
I know, you know. So, but it's just chipping away at it, little things at a time, and stuff. So that for me has been really good, and they've also given me this amazing opportunity to level up again through this company, which I am super excited about, because I think that is going to really skyrocket things, and I think that's part of where I'm supposed to be going. I genuinely believe that. So
anyway, so obviously you're in, do I just say the Midlands of the UK?
Yeah,
I don't know who's going to hear this.
I'm in Sutton Coldfield, just outside Birmingham. I have clients from all over the sort of the West Midlands. I do actually have one of my clients that I'm seeing next week. She actually lives in Newark, so she travels. Okay. As I say, most of it is face to face. I can do online if that's something. I used to have a client who's out in Cyprus, and we did online because obviously there was no other option, and that was absolutely fine. So there are ways and means. So to do. But
if somebody was listening to this and let's say they didn't have experience with a wellbeing coach, what would you say to them? What would you say to them?
In terms of what kind of things?
As in, it's not like you trying to sell your services, but they're not feeling right.
Yeah.
They're not feeling right, but they're not necessarily broken. They're just not feeling right. Mm-hmm. What would you say about a coach?
I would say go for, if you feel that you need somebody to hold space for you while you figure out what's going on, a coach would be ideal. They will delve deep as you will allow them, and it's a little bit like when you go to see a counsellor. A counsellor can only help with you with what you tell them. So you have to be prepared to be honest, you need to be prepared to be open, and you need to be prepared to be vulnerable. But within that's where the magic happens. That's where, when you're honest and open and vulnerable, that's where the magic happens. And it can be a bit scary, but a good coach will support you through that. They will hold space for you and support you through that. They will literally walk alongside you as you figure out what's going on and what changes you need to make. If you need to make any, you might not. But sometimes it's worth delving in that way. And once you start that journey, you never actually stop. And making the first step sometimes is the scariest. And asking for help is scary, but it's probably the bravest thing that you will ever do, is to go to somebody and go, do you know what, I need some help. I need somebody to guide me.
I think also the value of people seeing people like you and me when we talk about coaching and stuff is say, oh, people like us go to see people like them. It's not like super rich movie stars, and it's not like, I don't know, like you say, I mean, it could be at the crisis point, but very often what's happening is the crisis is just going on privately in our own heads. We're holding everything else down. But people like that privately go and see and get help from coaches and counsellors. And
I've had a coach. I had to have a coach to become a coach. I had a relationship coach when I was going through my divorce, because I needed somebody independent who would be honest with me about where I was and what help I needed and what changes I needed to make. Because as I said, we cannot change other people, we can only change ourselves. And sometimes you need somebody to hold up a mirror to you and go, this is what you're doing. Are you aware of that? And that's what a coach will do. But they then won't leave you on your own. They will then go, okay, so you understand that now. I'll take your hand. Let's figure out how to deal with that. Let's figure out how to change that, reset your boundaries, shift your perspective, get rid of those limiting beliefs, whatever it is. And yeah, normal people go and see. Most of my clients are people like me.
Yeah.
And in fact, every single one of them has got a very similar.
Yeah, it suddenly went light
background.
again.
I know, it's mad. Let there be light. Let there be light. But yeah, every single one of my clients is very, very similar to me, and I think that's because I attract them. I attract people who have got similar experiences to me, similar personalities, similar concerns, similar issues. Because I've been there, I've done it, I've got the t-shirt. I haven't necessarily figured it all out, but in helping somebody else to figure it out, I actually also help me. So it's that we attract people, I think, into our lives that kind of help us heal as well, if that makes sense. So healing others actually also heals us too, and that's the beauty of it. And that's and I allow myself to be vulnerable with my clients and say, well, this is my experience, because it's that validation of it is okay to feel that way. It is okay.
Anyway, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I feel like we haven't spoken so much about the speaking story, but I think one of the reasons for that is your experience of speaking and showing up feels very different to mine. That you did have that confidence to say, yeah, I'm smart enough to figure this out, and you had a different journey coming through, and and
I don't know whether I always did figure it out, but I think I learned at some point that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that has been a hard lesson, because I think throughout most of my, I suppose, early teens into my 20s, I kind of did things on my own. I didn't necessarily, don't get me wrong, my mum and dad were great. So, they were brilliant, but they could only give what they could give, what they were capable of giving, and I don't necessarily feel that was what I needed. So I felt like I had to figure things out for myself. So when it came to being a lot older, asking for help was super hard.
But I think that's why we're both attracted to what we're doing, because it's like, don't do what I did. Don't wait 10, 20 years.
Yes!
Just,
that's
let me try and make it as normal and as okay as possible.
That's exactly it.
Not wait 20 years.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Just ask for help. Just ask for a little bit of help.
For help. It is okay to ask for help. And
I'll make it normal. I'll make it easy.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's, there are people out there that want to help you as well. And I think that's the thing. People want to help, genuinely want to help, and they will bend over backwards for you to do that, to get you where you want to be. And because there's nothing, and you're probably the same, when you see somebody skyrocket because you've just maybe a few things with them, and you watch them and you go, oh, it's like being a mum all over again. It's like, oh, look at them go.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, but even into 20s, 30s, I underestimated the pleasure of what the other person was receiving from the helping me. I underestimated that.
Yeah.
I saw it as in, oh, that's their job to do that, and they're doing whatever. And I didn't realise that the personal satisfaction and fulfillment that they were getting.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know whether I could have persuaded myself. I don't know. I don't know how I would have persuaded myself to say, this is, both of you are benefiting from this. So just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's tricky. I suppose it depends on the situation, doesn't it? Sometimes, but it's. But
I do think what you mentioned the word rapport before. I think that was the other thing I wanted to say is that if you are thinking about getting help or seeing a coach, if that person you don't have a rapport with, that's completely normal too.
Yes, it is okay to walk away. Yeah. If somebody doesn't resonate, if somebody doesn't resonate with you, you don't have that rapport, you don't get that feeling.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. It is just that they are not right for you. It is just the universe going, you need to go in a different direction. And and I have to be honest, I've turned away probably one client,
Yeah.
and that was because I didn't have the rapport with them,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel that I could give them what they wanted,
Yeah.
and I wasn't happy to take their money to do that. I could have done, and there are people out there that might
Yeah.
do that, but a good coach will go, if it's not right for you, it is okay. You can go and find somebody else.
Yeah. But I think this is going to be the benefit of videos going forward.
Yeah.
That if you can see a range of coaches, then you can start to get a feeling for, oh, I want the tough love, or I want the safe face, or I want this, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because a lot of my clients, they come in here and I think 90% will go, yeah, I want to work with you at the end of every session, of that check-in session, because they feel it.
Yeah.
And I feel it. And I think, you know, when you both feel it, it's like, it's a no-brainer. It's just like, yeah, can't wait to work with you. It's brilliant. And they almost become friends, in a way. Yeah. They're not, because I have to maintain that boundary. But I care for them in a way that for me, they are almost friends. And I want them to be. In fact, somebody said to me the other day, I was telling her about what I do. And she said, you are like the best friend, but without the judgment or the criticism.
Yeah.
You know, you are the best friend that you need to basically go, so that you don't take it, because I know if I said some of the things that I said to my friends, they probably wouldn't like me anymore. but well, the same thing as I say to my friends as I do for my clients is different, because there's a different relationship. But I am almost being that kind of person to help with that, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, nice. What she's saying is, I like you, and I feel good with you, and
I feel comfortable with you, and I feel happy, and being able to be vulnerable with you, and to put my most personal things out, things that they may not necessarily say to their partner or their friend, because that's what often happens.
Yeah,
we delve deep into those things that people don't necessarily want to speak with other people, but that's the beauty of being an independent kind of step away from it, you know. So
there's help out there.
There's lots of it. It's just finding the right one, and don't be afraid to walk away if it doesn't feel right. Absolutely.
So I'm going to put your links for websites and different things in the description below. Any final words?
No, it's just been an absolute joy. It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. I love chatting, as it is anyway. But do you know what's been really nice is to see it the way you see me, and to kind of go back and look at it in a different perspective. That's been really interesting, something that I hadn't really thought of, but I love it.
It was funny because you gave me your introduction and you're talking about the coaching, and I was thinking, I'm trying to connect the dots. I'm trying to... I knew that you were interested in doing all the coaching now, but obviously I've known you...
Well, you've known me since I was born, so...
Yes. And obviously when you know somebody as a child, you're aware that they mature and stuff. You know, so it's different. So I didn't tell stories of us going on holiday together, so maybe we'll talk again. Anyway, there are more stories. Thank you very much. Bye, Helena. I'm going to click close. Bye.